Welcome to King's Court YouTube. I'm Shrine King, and this is yet another King's Court review of World of Tanks, specifically the ARL V39, which is a French tank destroyer, Tier 6? Actually, it might be Tier 5. It's either Tier 5 or Tier 6. The French line is known for their really good armor and damage potential, along with also being one of the few that actually has an auto-loading line. So the line itself is actually pretty nice to go to. So for those who are new, welcome. For those that are returning, welcome back. For those that are new though, just so you know, these are reviews to be a first like pro-con evaluation of the tank, but then also getting into guides on how to best play the tank for performance sake. So here we are, the ARL V39. This is what it looks like. You'll see it's really ugly, so that would be number one con. But I always start with pros. So the pros of the tank: it has a really nice gun for its tier, and there you go. So it is tier 6. So really nice gun. It does have some armor, but not a lot, and that is about it. Like, its camo is kind of moderate, so not necessarily a pro, not necessarily a con. But then the rest of it is just, it's not very fast. The accuracy is not amazing. The view range of it, not very good. So like all the things that the line is kind of getting into, this tank so far, it's not there yet. So definitely a nice line to get into if you go all the way up to tier 10. But there are some struggle points with this line, and this tank is part of it. So with that said though, it is actually starting to get better along the line. So if you are working through the line, just note that pretty much after this tank, it starts to progressively get a lot better. Now, based on those pros and based on the cons, there are some aspects to this. So like one, its radio is still pretty good, which is typical of almost all tank destroyers. So if it wasn't, I'd be pretty disappointed, and I would probably not recommend it. But as you can see there, I was looking at my gun, and I have like over 200 penetration with 300 alpha damage for a tier 6. That is actually significantly high. Now, because of the design of the tank, again, it's not turreted, so you don't. One of the other cons I would actually talk about is, even though it's not turreted, is neither a pro or a con, to be honest. What it is, though, that comes into question is how far can you really look left, look right without having your tank move, and that is a con on this tank. So with the gun, it can only move like maybe 2 degrees to the left, 2 degrees to the right, and then you have to turn, which also means when you're trying to snipe, because sniping will limit you from being able to turn unless you actually force it with your move key. What ends up happening is targets that are pretty fast or on the move, your chances of hitting are pretty limited. So it's a guide on how to best play this tank. Sadly, you're really reliant on your team. So you'll see here I've set up into a position where I'm staying out of the maximum view range. So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'll always note typically that the white circle is the maximum view range. Not necessarily yours, that's maximum view range period, which means anybody in another tank, that would be their maximum view range as well. Now, as you can see there, the aim time does take a little while. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing either. And like I said, accuracy with this weapon is not all that great. So you'll see here I'm actually aiming specifically at the ISU for 152 because I know that tank will mess people up. We need to kill it. That's priority. But when you finally do hit a target with this thing, it is nice. Like I said, for tier 6, that kind of damage potential is really nice. The fact that I can pen a tier 8 with a normal round is also very nice. Now, as I mentioned before, I am making sure to stay out of view range as much as possible. So you'll see that the white circle, all of these targets, they're actually on the ridge of my yellow circle, which is the radio. And that is highly how I advise you to play this tank, because if you are in view range and you fire, this thing does not have any camo. So you will be spotted. I almost guarantee it. Now, that said, there are cases where you can kind of trick it. Now, for example, if that with Churchill was in view range, the trees would technically be blocking his line of sight to me, which is good. That means I would get benefit or boosted camo to help protect myself from being spotted. And the same thing goes if I had a bunch of other stuff. But you gotta bear in mind, even with that, and right here you'll see, boom, that guy got in range, just in range, by the way. And the moment I fired, that was it. I am immediately spotted. And you'll see here, I mentioned that this thing has decent armor, not decent enough against these tiers. So you'll see that I'm just getting penned left and right. I can't stop the shots that are being put at me. So later on, the line actually does become much heavier armored and better angled to where it actually will block a lot of shots, so you don't have to worry so much. So now you'll see I've actually gotten it to where, let's see, he is just outside of my view range, so I'm still playing a little risky here. So that's where I'm, like, the note is not to be in that kind of point. You want to be outside of the potential view range, stay within your radio range. But again, that also kind of depends on where you are, what map it's on. So like in this case, if I were to continuously back up, I probably wouldn't have shots anymore, so I need to kind of stay there. And I'm trying to help my guy here, but sadly, yeah, you know, he's getting bum rushed here. Now, the reload's not horrible on this thing, considering the gun. It's not, so that's a good thing for it. And I don't believe I actually have the best gun yet on this tank. It just so happened that I played another line, so I actually had some of the other guns from the other lines, which I believe was the heavy line, I think is how I earned it. But here, like you can see, as long as you're landing the shots and it is penetrating, you will start racking in a lot of damage. Now here, T28, right? I know my chances of penetration are low, right? But on the side, it was able to do it, not even on a premium round. So that's what I'm saying. The tank definitely has the damage potential. So you want to play to the benefit of your team by staying outside of view range, stay within radar range, and try to do everything that you can to just help support your team. Bear in mind, though, that your penetration is pretty high, so if you see them struggling with particular targets, like say this T28 prototype, or I'm sorry, T28, then you want to try and knock them out as priority one. Now in this case, you'll see I changed my aim because he's actually blocking, and sadly, while trying to cross over, I ended up hitting my own teammate. That kind of screws my teammate, and that sucks. Like, I did apologize to the guy after the match, and it really does. It sucks. But that's kind of the thing, is I can't really tell, and it was crossing over, it got risky, it flipped green, and I had already had it in my mind to pull the trigger. So, actually, I didn't even wait till after. I told him my bad right here. I do recommend that if you are playing and you make a mistake, just let the person know. Now here's the case. You'll see I made sure to stay behind the bushes, so the bushes are giving me some cover. I am probably the one that's spotted. I'm waiting because I was like, well, as soon as I fire, I'm gonna get spotted. So I did wait, popped a shot out. I was hoping to track him, because the reason why is because if I could have tracked him, my artillery might have been able to shoot him. That's what I was hoping for. Now I'm trying to bait a shot. So that's all I'm doing there. I have no intention of trying to shoot him. I was just going to try to bait the shot. And that's funny enough, apparently he didn't know that someone was coming, so he turned around. So now I know, okay, I can actually go ahead and shoot him. Now, bear in mind, from where I just shot, I'm spotted for sure. So I didn't have, like, the bush cover, I was too close, so once I fired, I would have lost all of my camo off of that bush. Basically, the bush just disappears when I fire. Then on top of that, I lose the camo rating just from shooting anyway. So that's really the gist of this one. There's a lot of different tank destroyers that have a lot of different ways that you can play, like they have maneuverability, things like that. This is not really one of them. It's kind of like get into position to where you plan to be, and that's pretty much all you're really going to do. You stay outside of view range. Hopefully your team holds up. If your side gets crushed, sadly you're probably going to die. So I would actually just hold tight well, I mean, continuously roll back to try to stay out of view, but just put out as much damage as you can before you die, because if you try running, you're not going to get away. The thing is not fast enough to really maneuver and get away. So that's how I would play the ARL 49. Like I said, just bear in mind, or I'm sorry, 39. Bear in mind it's starting to get better at that point. So once you get up to tier 6, it's starting to get better. I didn't really like the tier like 4 and tier 5. Obviously tier 1 through 3, that doesn't really count. It's just an intro, which mostly it's lights. By the time you get to the rest of it, it all changes. So hope that was helpful. Apparently I alt-tabbed there. But I got my mission. And again, please like, subscribe. Let me know if there's particular tanks that you guys are looking for or you want to know about. I can get into the review levels to talk about all of the stat values and taking the time to show like where to pen on certain things. Most of them I'll just actually give a broad explanation of like where the weak points are. If you guys want to know the weak points to these things, but like I said, this thing, it has decent armor, but it doesn't have great armor, so you're gonna pen it no matter what you're doing there. So I'm just kind of giving tips on how to best play it to perform better for you guys. So let me know if that's useful, and if you enjoy this kind of material, then I guess I'll see you on the next one. All right, thanks so much.